We're going to be talking today about the conservation title of the 2018 Farm Bill. Before I get into the details about it, I'd like to talk just a little bit about history of how we arrived at this moment in time. If we go back to 1985, there was a really strange convergence of three very unusual bedfellows that came together. If you could imagine sitting around a table with environmentalists on one side and tax hawks on another side of the table and competition hawks on the other side of the table. Environmentalists wanted to do all they could to protect the land, the soil, and the water. The tax hawks wanted to do all they could to reduce taxes and reduce spending by big government, and competition hawks wanted to do all they could to improve prices for ag producers. And here sits the conservation bill before them, and it just happened to fit every one of them. And out of that came the Conservation Reserve Program, the Wetland Reserve Program, and conservation planning. And over the years since then, those have evolved into several new programs, and the Conservation Reserve Program has been the one that has remained, even though it itself has evolved to some extent. So we want to talk a little bit about the programs that we have today. The conservation title of today's farm program represents, for mandatory spending over the next 5 years, about $29 billion in the Farm Bill. And most of that is going to the three major programs of EQIP at $11 billion, Conservation Reserve Program of about $10 billion, and the Conservation Stewardship Program of about $5 billion. Three major agencies manage these programs. Natural Resource and Conservation Agency manages EQIP and Conservation Stewardship Program. Farm Service Agency manages Conservation Reserve Program and a few other programs. And Risk Management Agency manages a little bit of some other programs. And so here we sit. I want to talk a little bit about each of those programs, if I could, and there's real opportunities here for you. All of these programs are geared toward making good stewards of the land, which most agricultural producers are today, better stewards of the land. They provide financial support and technical assistance to make you better stewards of the land. So we could start today perhaps with the Conservation Reserve Program. The plan is to hit a goal to move from today's 22 million acres nationwide to go to about 27 million acres nationwide. In Oklahoma, we've got a little over 600,000 acres enrolled in the program. That's about half of what we had at the peak years, and we've got an average rental rate of about $27 an acre. That's about 2/3 of what the rental rate was at the peak years for Oklahoma. And when I say rental rate, what I mean is if you get a contract with the CRP, the federal government is agreeing to pay you an annual rental rate for 10 to 15 years. So what you do is you go into the Farm Service Agency and you tell them that you want to apply for the CRP. They sit down with you to see if you're eligible, if you have highly erodible land, if you can develop an environmental benefit index that will compete with others, and they work you up on that basis, and then you compete with others, And if you win one of those, they will pay you that rental rate for up to 10 to 15 years. And what you do with that is you agree to lay down a cover crop on that land. You take the land out of production for that period of time. You don't plant crops on it for production purposes. There is an exception to that. Occasionally, for emergency basis, you may be able to hay and graze on it occasionally, but that's only if there's a drought or another natural disaster that Congress and the FSA agrees allows an exemption to that. And that only occurs rarely. We could go now to the other programs. We could look at the Environmental Quality Incentive Program, EQIP. They provide financial and technical assistance. This program is for working lands, unlike the CRP program. And CSP, the Conservation Stewardship Program, is also for working lands. And these programs allow farmers who want to be good stewards of the land, but they also want to be able to work the land. And so you would go into the NRCS office and see if your land might be eligible for these. There's a different set of criteria for these than the CRP, and you'll have to do a checklist on those and develop a plan and see if your land might be competitive for these. They do a ranking and put you in for competition on these. So these are all opportunities that you might have available to you to be able to make your good stewardship better than it is today, and have the government provide financial incentives to you to do that.